Story 1. The truth is I was never able to keep weight off until I started focusing on habits instead of my weight. Old me. I should have a small salad, but I love pizza and wine. It won't hurt much. I'll have the salad tomorrow. I was good this week. I had a stressful day. The list is endless. New me. I want a salad and fish because I know pizza and wine will make me feel bloated and tired. I had a stressful day. Don't I want food that makes me feel good? You need to make healthy eating the rule, not the exception, and learn that high-calorie foods do not make you feel as good as you think. Story 2. The easiest way for me was counting calories, but I have a few other tips. 1. Make sure that you keep track of calories in drinks. Honestly, I would avoid all drinks with any calories because they do not keep you full for very long. 2. Go for walks. You do not have to exercise for hours, but try to walk for at least 30 minutes per day. It helps you get into the habit. 3. Overall, walk more. Do not drive everywhere if your destination is within walking distance. 4. Treat yourself. I tried to stop eating all snacks, but it always resulted in me falling off the wagon. I now let myself enjoy a treat every once in a while. 5. Remember that losing weight takes time. It is easy to stop trying for a few weeks because it takes long to see results, but that is just the way it is. Story 3. Understand why you eat or drink too much. Is it stress, boredom, lack of understanding of how to make healthy meals, or a process to be prepared? Or do you eat mindlessly? Everyone knows calories in, calories out, eat less, move more. But to be frank, if it were truly that simple to execute, no one would be overweight. It is like telling an alcoholic, you just need to not drink. Story 4. I used an application to track calories and started walking every day at least 10,000 steps. About a year ago, I joined a gym and have gained back about 15 pounds, but my wife says it is definitely muscle and my smaller pants still fit, so maybe she is right. I started 6 years ago and weighed about 220 pounds at 5 feet 8 inches. The lowest I got was 171 pounds. Now about 184 to 85 pounds. I walk about 17,000 steps a day now and go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. Also, I am 53 years old, so it is never too late to start. Story 5. I have lost 70 pounds in 8 months. I am proud of this achievement, but there is still a lot more work to do. I have come to realize that getting healthy is not a one-time effort. For the rest of my life, I will need to incorporate daily activity and maintain a reduced calorie intake. It is not always enjoyable, but the results are absolutely worth it. Story 6. 2 things. 1. Started walking a minimum of a mile a day. If I feel like doing more, great, but I get that mile in every day whether I want to or not. 2. Reduced meat and dairy consumption. I did not give them up entirely, just made them more occasional. A bowl of beans and rice, seasoned however you like, makes a great meal. This approach helped me get below 200 pounds for the first time in decades. Story 7. During the pandemic, I got a cheap elliptical from Amazon. I started using it for 5 minutes a day, then 10, then 20, and so on. Then it broke because it was very cheap. I decided to try jogging around the block instead and just stuck with it. Now, a couple of years later, I'm running 4 to 6 miles every other day. I feel much better, and I can eat more of the foods I like without gaining weight. I found out that I actually enjoy running, but I just didn't give it a chance in high school. I think the key is finding exercise that you enjoy. It is much easier to stick with if you like it. Story 8. MyFitnessPal. Calories in versus calories out. Aim for high-fiber, high-protein foods. They keep you feeling fuller. Do both cardiovascular exercise and weight training. More muscle increases your metabolism. Cardiovascular exercise will burn more calories on the day. I went slightly more vegetarian, typically 4 vegetarian days a week. Vegetarian protein is high in fiber and low in fat. Keeps you feeling very full. Foods like lentils and chickpeas are perfect for weight loss. They are mild in flavor, so they can be added to nearly any sauce. I lost 70 pounds in 6 months, 120 pounds total, and I have kept it off. My weight has increased slightly, but only because I have started building muscle now that the fat is gone. Story 9. I recently decided to lose weight and set a daily calorie limit that never changes. and I never cheat. The limit is not just the calories needed to lose weight. It is actually the number I need to eat to maintain my goal weight. In theory, if I always eat that number of calories, I will eventually reach my goal weight and stabilize. So far, it has been working. I am about 15 pounds down in a month and a half. I also had to firmly tell my spouse and family to no longer provide treats and food. It is much easier to avoid unhealthy foods if they are not in your house within reach. I do not consider physical activity in my calorie limit. It is easy to say you want that donut, eat it, and then promise to run to cancel it out. But this is not efficient or effective. No amount of exercise will change my daily calorie limit. If I happen to burn more calories, I will simply lose weight a little faster that day. Story 10. I use tirzepatide. It is a stronger version of semaglutide. Some say that may be cheating, but when you are an obese alcoholic who needs to detox, this was my route. Currently, I am down 60 pounds, and the desire to drink has vanished. Story 11. Food Scale, a diet tracking application, and planning my diet. I spent a few minutes figuring out how many calories I could eat and still be in a deficit, given my lifestyle. I then planned some meals that would keep me in that range and recorded what I ate to ensure I was sticking to it. I managed to lose almost 60 pounds in a year this way. I was also exercising, but the weight loss was very slow until I got the food scale and started tracking what I ate. Story 12. Gastric bypass surgery to treat gastroparesis and uncontrollable reflux. All digestive issues are now resolved, and I have lost 40 kilograms. It was drastic, but life is worth living now. Some people may say this method is cheating, but I did it for myself, not for anyone else. Story 13. Wegovy shuts off the voice in your head reminding you that you can order an extra-large pizza and eat the whole thing. I lost 40 pounds and kept it off. It helped me rethink and reset the way I was eating. I also do the treadmill every morning, weightlifting every evening, and no longer drink sugary soft drinks. I drink black coffee now instead of the diabetic brew from Starbucks. Story 14. It is a very personal thing. For me, I know I can skip breakfast, skip lunch, or eat a very small one, and then have a nice meal for dinner and be at a good calorie deficit for the day. That is a system that has proven to be long-term effective as a lifestyle change that I find easy to maintain and, crucially, not a chore. It certainly would be for others. The key thing, in my opinion, is to experiment and find the equivalent system for you, something that is not so much a diet as simply a way of living your life you can sustain happily that trends your body weight in the direction you want over time. Also, I have switched many food and drink options to vegan options, just as an experiment to see how I would find it. Over time, this experiment has been a success, which again is personal to me. I have found that I really like tofu and that I am just as happy with an iced coffee without dairy in it. Often these substitutions work out to be lower in calories than what I used to consume, which is why it works. In conclusion, any lifestyle changes that you actually enjoy and can sustain without effort and happen to lower your calorie consumption are winners. You need to find as many as you can that work for you and integrate them all. Story 15. I stopped putting food in my mouth and started exercising. I realize it is a cliché, but it is the truth. Also, I maintain my weight with exercise. I am not a big fan of using exercise to lose weight, but it will certainly keep the weight off once it is gone. Story 16. Good tips from others. I would add, definitely do strength training. Gaining muscle is like building more micro furnaces in your body. Among all tissue types such as skeletal muscle, adipose tissue, brain, and liver, muscle tissue burns the most energy per kilogram. That's why strength training is so effective. You not only burn energy during the process, but you are also building the calorie-burning infrastructure for periods between training sessions when your body is resting. Acquiring lean muscle will also pay off in old age. Story 17. Coming from a food addiction, it was and continues to be the hardest thing I have ever done. I wish it was as simple as most people make it out to be, but it took me years of psychological work, medication, suicide attempts, job losses, and more to finally break out of it. The cravings never go away, and they torment me daily. Am I glad I did it? Absolutely. I am way healthier and happier now, but do not come at me with that "just count calories." It is easy nonsense. It was a decade-long struggle that almost cost me my life in multiple ways. Story 18. Conferred with my endocrinologist, and she endorsed it as long as my blood sugar is well monitored. I only eat breakfast and lunch with some snacking mixed in. I eat out at restaurants maybe once every 2 to 3 months. I do not eat supper. My portions for breakfast and lunch were reduced since I stopped eating out. 5. Breakfast 5 days a week is yogurt with blueberries, chopped pecans, and granola. I have lost around 45 pounds and have kept it off for about 18 months. I do as much yard work as I can, and this is my main exercise. Walking is difficult due to severe foot issues, but changing my eating habits has made a huge difference. Story 19. Eat less. Move more. Keep doing that. Beyond that, I avoid anything sugary as a general rule. Refined sugar is the biggest thing that people do not think about when they eat. Look at the calories in anything sugary. It is insane. It is fine to treat yourself from time to time, but a common cause of weight gain is sugary drinks in particular. It is easy to drink 1,000 calories a day and not even realize it. Story 20. Diet is a major factor in losing weight. Exercise plays a smaller role but is also beneficial for overall health. It is possible to be thin and still be unhealthy. When having meals, try to eat a large amount of vegetables. They are low in calories and high in fiber, which helps you feel full. Aim to make 75% of your plate vegetables. Story 21. The only way to lose weight is to ensure you are in a calorie deficit. I tracked my daily intake and made sure I was eating about 1,000 kilocalories less than my normal daily expenditure for my age, gender, and weight. Also, make sure you drink enough water because burning fat requires water. 1 kilogram of fat is about 7,000 kilocalories, so running a daily deficit of 1,000 kilocalories for a week will result in losing about 1 kilogram of fat. However, you may also lose water or muscle mass, so you need to monitor this over time. Once you reach your goal, you should continue to track calorie intake versus calories burned, but you do not have to maintain a deficit. Story 22. Nothing drastic, really. Between August 2022 and March 2023, I was consistently on a calorie deficit. I skipped some days, but nothing radical. I went down from approximately 78 kilograms to 66 kilograms in about 7 months. Since then, my weight has mostly stabilized. Between 61 and 66 kilograms. I rarely go above or below that range, mostly because I feel fine with how I look at the moment. Losing weight is like a marathon, not a sprint. Fast losses do not last unless maintained for months, so in my case, it was mostly a long-term dedication. Story 23. I had surgery on my intestines. I didn't have much of an appetite for a while. Story 24. I started counting calories using an app. It was eye-opening. Later, I added a lot of activities like biking more and working out. I went from 3 times a week to 6 times a week within a little more than half a year. I started climbing again. To be honest, the only way that really works is calorie counting. It gives you a good idea of how many calories certain foods have and makes it easier to keep yourself in check, even if you don't use the app. Story 25. Intermittent fasting and walking. I am currently going through a divorce, so I have been eating a lot, but I am starting to fast and eat healthily again. Story 26. Cut calories and reduce the majority of sugar. I have lost 64 pounds since August. Currently. It is just that simple. When you start to realize how many calories and how much sugar are in everything, you just check the label after a while and account for it. Story 27. I joined Weight Watchers in 2001. They taught me important habits about replacing fatty foods with better options. They taught me about portion size and other healthy practices. They gave me tips on how to judge how much extra food splurging is allowed when I do extra exercise. I have not been to a meeting since the fall of 2001, but as of today, I am still within 5 pounds of my goal weight. Story 28. 220 pounds down to 170, just by gradually reducing carbohydrates. I started by cutting out bread and sugar, which was not easy and I failed often. Then, about a year later, I eliminated almost all carbohydrates. Now, 10 years later, I am still 170 pounds and eat 0 carbohydrates on most days. When I eat carbohydrates, I develop food cravings, but when I remove carbohydrates, I no longer have uncontrollable cravings, which makes it easy to avoid overeating. I wish I had known much earlier that carbohydrates were the problem. Story 29. Weight Watchers application tracks your food daily and helps avoid overeating. It focuses on portion control. Story 30. Since March 2021, I have lost about 35 kilograms. I weighed 130 kilograms at my peak with a height of 184 centimeters. Now I weigh 95 kilograms. Sometimes I have cheat weeks or even months and I bounce back a little. But I never exceed 110 kilograms. Usually, I keep below 100 kilograms. The key is to count calories. Without counting, I cannot stay in a calorie deficit. The other thing I did was to start walking every day. I walk a few kilometers on work days and 20 to 30 kilometers on free days. On average, I have walked a little over 7 kilometers per day. Since 2021, usually, I listen to audiobooks or podcasts while walking as it is very relaxing. Although the calories burned are not very high, I calculated I burn about 55 calories per 1 kilometer walked with my current weight. It helps and makes me feel much better overall. I also have a spreadsheet with calories consumed and kilometers walked for each day, and I run statistical models on it. This keeps me motivated. Your mileage may vary. Story 31. I went to a local park every day after dropping my son off at school and walked for an hour. Story 32. Tracking calories, snacking on vegetables to keep hunger in check, such as bell pepper and cucumber, exercise, cheat days, and willpower. Story 33. Attempted to get 1 hour of exercise every day in any form such as walking, running, weights, Pilates, or dance. Cut my portion sizes down, increased fiber, and decreased carbohydrates without eliminating them completely. Began drinking more water to stay fuller for longer. Most importantly, worked on getting enough sleep at night. Story 34. Intermittent fasting, water fasting, and dry fasting. Giving up sweets, alcohol, and junk food, both salty and sweet. Story 35. Lost over 100 pounds by switching to a low-carbohydrate lifestyle. I allow myself one cheat day, usually Saturday, where I have one cheat meal and a dessert. I exercise, usually walking 5 days a week. I do less in the winter because I dislike walking on a treadmill. I will be back up to 25 miles a week by the end of this month and will stick to it until the weather gets too cold in December or January. The real key was therapy. I had a number of unhealthy and self-destructive habits that started to go away once I was able to work through things and develop healthier coping mechanisms for life. Story 36. I stopped eating 2 bacon cheeseburgers, a large order of fries, and a large drink many times a week. Story 37. I lose weight due to severe illnesses. Note: this method is not recommended. Story 38. Lift heavy, count calories, and have balanced macronutrients. Cardiovascular exercise burns calories while you do it. Lifting weights burns calories for days afterward. Tissue repair is very calorically intensive. For reference, consider the caloric demands of burn victims. This applies only if you reach the level where you can lift decent weights to effectively break down tissue. Once I reached the intermediate strength level, my calorie burn went into overdrive. When I switched to trying to gain weight, it was astonishing how much I had to eat to gain. Story 39. Track your food and take a close look at your protein intake. If you do not eat much meat, it is very likely that you are operating with a protein deficit. I did this for years with a 20 to 30% deficit daily. I lost weight over the years because I forced myself to stay in a calorie deficit despite cravings and hunger. It was not pleasant. I recognized my deficit 4 weeks ago and corrected it. Since then, I have not binged once, which was common before. I have lost 3.5 kilograms and gained some light muscle as I exercise a lot. My mood is better, my cravings are gone, and I can keep an open pack of sweets around without eating them quickly. They might stay for a week, and I only eat them when it fits my daily intake. I am now in control, unlike before. The answer remains calorie deficit, but if you have issues with cravings, monitor your protein intake. Story 40. Figured out my total daily energy expenditure and optimal daily protein intake. Made a plan of what I can eat and how much to meet those numbers. I did not eat at a natural deficit. My deficit solely came from exercise and movement. I ate 2,000 calories every day, 150 to 200 grams of protein, and tried to incorporate as many vegetables and fruits as possible with large portions of protein. I went to the gym 6 times a week with 1 day of rest. Later, I reduced that to 2 days of rest with 5 gym sessions per week because my body could not keep up after roughly a year. At the gym, I followed a 3-day split followed by a 2-day split covering chest, back, arms, legs, shoulders, and core. The secret is to train hard and not just for appearance. Train to maximize strength, mobility, and stamina. This means strength training, mobility, and cardio in equal proportions. If something feels difficult to you, that is exactly what you should do. My golden rule was to do things I enjoy. That is it. Eat what you like, train how you like. I lost around 15% of body fat and went through a full body transformation at the age of 31 with a full-time job. Story 41. You need to make a conscious effort to eat less than you are now or exercise much more, but that is a lot harder. It sounds obvious. I was trying to lose weight for a long time while still consuming probably 1,000 calories of snacks per night at the very least. Eating a healthier dinner will not do much against that kind of overeating. Story 42. I was 77 kilograms a few years ago, and one day my walking pants wouldn't button, so I decided it was enough. I didn't want to buy a whole new wardrobe, so I decided to lose weight. My goal was below 70 kilograms. I ate a fair bit of chocolate, chips, ice cream, sweets, chocolate muffins, garlic bread, lots of unnecessary stuff, and drank sweet drinks. Knowing how many calories you burn in a day helps. I think 1,800 for me, just existing, not actually doing anything. And knowing that a bag of chips is 1,100 calories, a chocolate muffin is 500, a sweet drink is 150, and so on, I realized I could cut a fair bit if I just stopped snacking. So I didn't snack unless offered by my boyfriend or at a family member's place for about half a year. I had my daily cocoa in the morning because you have to live a little. Otherwise, I had my first meal of the day at 12, noon, and my last meal before 8 p.m., intermittent fasting. Breakfast has always made me stupidly hungry throughout the day. I lost about 1 kilogram a month. I wasn't in a big hurry. I could have cut out more if necessary. Christmas was also at the end of my weight loss, so that slowed it down a bit. I didn't exercise at all during this because even if you go for a good run, it's only about 200 calories. That doesn't even cover half a chocolate muffin. Exercise is good for your health, but for losing weight, it's a tiny bonus, and that's it. Since then, we got a dog who is now almost 2 years old, so I walk every day a bit. I stopped monitoring my weight and stopped following my can't snack if 70 kilograms or above rule, so I slowly gained weight up to almost 74 kilograms. Then I thought, ah crap, this is getting out of hand again. So this time I fast-tracked it back down below 70 kilograms. The 74 was likely closer to 73 because I didn't follow my usual weight check rules. In the morning, before food, after the toilet, in just underwear for the absolute minimum weight. This time, I lost the weight faster. I didn't have the cocoa anymore, even though that's just 150 calories. And I did my walks, which burn about 100 to 150 calories. I was a lot more picky about what I accepted from my boyfriend here and there. I wanted to reach my goal and then stick to my no snacks if above the limit rule. It's guaranteed to keep me at this weight until my metabolism slows down so much that just food pushes me over. Honestly, I couldn't do it if I had to cut only food and had no snacks ever. I'm not a huge foodie, and I'll have 1 bread roll with cheese for breakfast, and then dinner like 2 hot dogs or whatever else we have for dinner. And that's it for food. Maybe a banana if I get hungry between meals. So, do you have any big calorie bombs you could cut? Or is it all food related? Weirdly, knowing that the way molecules leave our body is through carbon dioxide we breathe out has made it kind of easier to believe in no exercise. The weight leaves your body continuously through the day just through breathing. The only thing you have to do is make sure not to consume so much that you gain more than you lose. I never thought I could do it, but I did. And now I'm a happy 69.5 kilograms despite having my favorite cake yesterday as well as ice cream. I'll just keep measuring every morning and make sure I stay where I am. Story 43. Intermittent fasting. Did 23 to 1 for a few weeks, then 18 to 6. Lost 55 pounds in 11 weeks. Have been keeping it off for over a year. Eating healthy is no longer a big deal. I try to limit junk food. I'm also a bit more active now. Story 44. Intermittent fasting. I allow myself to eat within an 8-hour window and fast for a 16-hour time frame. I also do one meal a day on days following a bad eating day. Story 45. Find what triggers you. I did this by cutting carbohydrates and white foods, especially bread, pasta, and potatoes. I also cut dairy. Exercise is important. Do something you enjoy or have done in the past. Everyone is different, so do not follow the crowd. I cannot stand gyms or running. For me, it is walking and cycling. I lost 30 kilograms more than 10 years ago, and it has stayed off. Story 46. One meal a day ketogenic diet as much as possible, but not perfectly strict. Try to keep carbohydrates between 0 and 50 grams generally, but do not punish myself if it is not possible 1 to 2 days a week. Lost 35 pounds since January. Happiest relationship I have ever had with food and only sustainable and sustained diet change I have ever made. High fat, meat, green vegetables, ketogenic breads. Cut sugar almost completely. Story 47. Daily exercise, portion control, meal planning, Weight Watchers. It is a lifestyle, not a diet. Story 48. I got a dog. I will neglect myself, but never an animal. I walk her 3 times a day. Story 49. Walked 45 minutes a day on lunch break. As I got fitter, the distance I walked increased. Breakfast was coffee with cream, extra large. Lunch was an apple or a piece of fruit, sometimes an energy drink if tired. Dinner was a single meal up to 1,500 calories, such as fast food, pasta, or pizza, plus unlimited mixed salad without dressing until full. The first week was difficult with hunger pains, but then I adapted to my single real meal a day. My stomach shrank, so I felt full much quicker. I was able to keep eating tasty, unhealthy meals, but walking and consuming well under 2,000 calories a day helped me lose 60 pounds in 6 months. Story 50. Food is too expensive now. I cannot afford to eat all I want anymore. Story 51. Go to the gym 3 to 5 days a week, following a strict push-pull legs routine. Maintain a calorie deficit of 300 to 500 calories per day. Follow a protein-based diet. Get 7 to 8 hours of proper sleep. Drink plenty of water. Story 52. I have a relative who lost 200 pounds. They passed away and the weight just melted away after that. Story 53. I'd like to share a success story about a friend of mine, a 19-year-old male, who embarked on a weight loss journey following some advice I offered. Over 10 weeks, he achieved remarkable progress, shedding 25.4 kilograms, 56 pounds. His method involved adopting a single meal a day approach, consisting of a balanced mix of protein, vegetables, and healthy fats like butter or olive oil, occasionally supplemented with a wrap for added carbohydrates. While some may criticize this method as too extreme or unhealthy, it's important to note that he has never felt better both physically and mentally. However, this approach is not suitable for everyone, and rapid weight loss should always be approached with caution. Now, let's discuss the science behind fat loss. While the simplistic concept of calories in versus calories out is common, the reality is more nuanced. It largely depends on hormones, particularly insulin. When we consume food, especially those high in carbohydrates, our blood sugar levels rise, prompting the pancreas to release insulin. Insulin plays a crucial role in moving glucose into cells for energy and, importantly, signals fat cells to store fatty acids as triglycerides. Therefore, the calories in versus calories out model is incomplete because it overlooks insulin's vital role in fat metabolism. Weight management involves not only the amount of calories consumed, but also the hormonal responses triggered by those calories. However, insulin is essential for proper bodily function. The problem arises when insulin levels are consistently elevated due to excessive carbohydrate intake, leading to chronic fat storage. This situation is often seen in individuals who consume high-carbohydrate meals rich in refined sugars and simple carbohydrates. Conversely, when insulin levels are controlled, such as during periods of fasting or on a low-carbohydrate diet, the body enters a fat-burning state called ketosis. In this state, the body uses stored fat for energy, promoting fat loss over time. Now, let's address a common misconception about fruit consumption. Although fruits are nutritious, containing essential vitamins, minerals, and fiber, they also have natural sugars, mainly fructose. Consuming large quantities of fruit, especially in smoothies or juices, can cause significant spikes in blood sugar and insulin levels, potentially hindering weight loss efforts if insulin remains elevated for long periods. This weight loss method involves shifting the body's primary energy source from carbohydrates to fats. Expect a transition period of about 10 to 14 days as the body adjusts. During this time, it is normal to feel hungry and somewhat sluggish. However, after this initial phase, the process becomes easier. Once your body fully switches to using fat as its main energy source, you will notice a significant difference. After eating, you will feel satiated faster, and the feeling of fullness will last longer. Additionally, you will continue to burn fat throughout the day, including between meals. In conclusion, achieving and maintaining a healthy weight involves more than just counting calories. It requires an understanding of hormonal regulation, particularly insulin, and making informed dietary choices that support overall well-being. I wish you luck on your journey. Story 54. I built some muscle while I was overweight, then starved myself occasionally, nothing too long, just one day here, one day there, while also doing long walks. Nowadays, I keep that weight off because having more muscle mass allows me to burn more calories than before just by existing. Story 55. I am 58 years old, 5 feet 9 inches tall, and weighed 200 pounds. I have done this before, you just have to set your mind to it. I consume 1,500 calories a day and log everything into MyFitnessPal. I have dropped 17 pounds and have 20 more to go. I also exercise but only eat back half of the calories I burn if I am starving. I have a banana for breakfast, a salad for lunch, and a sensible dinner. Story 56. Skipped meals. I just ate one meal a day in the evening. I keep the weight off by never snacking. Ever. Constant denial, I hate it. But I don't want to be overweight. When I start eating 3 meals a day again and have occasional takeout meals, drink alcohol, and eat out fairly regularly, weight creeps back on until I skip meals for a few weeks again to get it back down. I guess the way to break that cycle is to cut out alcohol, takeout meals, and eating out. But you have to have some joy in your life, don't you? Story 57. Stopped drinking soda, had fizzy water instead. When mealtime comes around, make a conscious decision to have something that is not fast food or unhealthy. It is not hard to find out what foods are good and bad online. In fact, you probably already know the main ones. Make sure you have something to eat before doing your food shopping. Never shop hungry. Avoid buying things that will just be around to munch on between meals. If you need it, buy some apples. As I was told, if you are not hungry enough to eat an apple, you are not hungry. Be careful with fruits though, they are better for you than a bag of candy, and the sugar in them is unprocessed, but it is still sugar. It is hard, but stick with it for 3 weeks. After that time, you will likely gravitate towards better options, and anything sugary will probably taste too sweet to you. Once it becomes a habit, it is a lot easier. Remember, you are not on a diet. You are changing your lifestyle. It is a big step, but luckily it can be done with lots of little steps. If you get a pang of hunger, try having a cold glass of water. Sometimes our thirst response can be mistaken for hunger. You can also do some physical activity. Everything helps. But remember, you primarily lose weight in the kitchen and gain muscle in the gym. The main thing is to be honest with yourself. For example, you had a salad for lunch, but was that salad drowning in sauce and cheese? If it helps, track your food. Food tracking apps do a great job of this. You can even just scan the barcodes. I found that simply logging food caused me to be more aware of what I was eating daily. I would skip snacks because I thought, I would have to log this. I will say it again, be honest. No one will see this data but you, so lying would be counterproductive. Start with small steps. If you go all in on day 1, you will burn out pretty quickly. Step 1, cut out sodas. Nothing else. Everything else stays the same for a week or so. During this week, when you eat the snacks in the cupboard, do not buy any more. Week 2, stop snacking. Because of what you did last week, it will be harder to find things to snack on. Basically, change 1% at a time. Do 100 little steps and you will reach 100%. After a month or so, When your habits are in check, do not worry about the occasional bad eating day. If you go out for someone's birthday and indulge, that is fine. Just keep it to that one day. Your body and cravings will default back to your new lifestyle the next day. Think about it the other way: you eat bad food 3 times a day every day. On Friday dinner, you have chicken and steamed vegetables, then you go back to the bad food. Did that healthier meal have an impact? Probably not. Instead of one hard step, take 1,000 easy steps. Story 58. Gastric bypass is one of the best decisions I have ever made. Story 59. I stopped drinking or eating sugar, stopped eating fruits for snacks, avoided butter and reduced dairy, increased vegetable intake to create healthy dinner options, and exercised 3 to 5 times a week. Story 60. I stopped eating as much and did not change anything else. I lost a lot of kilograms in a few months. I gained all the lost kilograms again in a few months because I did not notice I was eating progressively more every day. This repeated for 16 years. Story 61. Worked with a professional dietitian. I wanted the process to be fast and healthy. I started with the intention of losing weight. The real treasure was learning how to eat properly. I lost 50 pounds in 5 months. I have never felt better, and the weight loss is only part of the reason. Story 62. 1. Daily walk in a hurry style. 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour at night. 2. Diet with no usual suspects such as sodas or alcohol. 3. Weight lifting for 1 hour, 3 to 4 times per week. 4. Push-ups and pull-ups at home whenever possible, starting with 5 push-ups in total and now able to do 50 at once, 150 per day. The most difficult part was the mental challenge to convince myself to stay on that path. To be honest, enough was enough with my weight. Lost a total of 77 pounds after about a year. Story 63. I reduced my beer consumption, and that alone has made a difference. Story 64. Ironically, I started playing video games on my personal computer again. When I was watching television after my wife went to bed, I would get peckish and end up snacking. Now I play a few games before bed instead. I am immersed and too lazy to get a snack. Also because I do not want to touch a keyboard or mouse with dirty, oily, or food-coated hands. Thus, no more snacking. Story 65. I stopped drinking fizzy drinks during the week and only have half at the weekend. I am also trying to buy my first house. So far, I have lost 2 stone due to the stress. I suspect I will be able to keep the weight off because I will be too broke to buy the things I want. Story 66. Water. No bread. No enriched grains or flour. No high fructose corn syrup. Exercise. Story 67. I lost 30 kilograms. There is no secret. Eat healthy. Exercise. Whatever exercise you enjoy. Running, walking, and stay in a caloric deficit. Story 68. 1. I learned how to accurately count calories, protein, fats, and carbohydrates, and started emphasizing protein. I cut out liquid calories. 2. I started going to the gym. At first, I would do a lot of cardiovascular exercise and that was it, but nowadays I focus on weight training and do stairs at the end. If you weight train, do not be alarmed at weight gain. Muscle is much heavier than fat. I am 135 pounds right now, but I am the same size I was at 120 pounds because I am leaner. 3. I ate more plant-based foods. I am not saying to cut out animal foods entirely, but eating more vegetarian and vegan meals really helped me. 4. Consistency and discipline are important for all of the above. Story 69. What seems to be working for me currently is a vegan diet, something I had never tried before, and the pounds seem to be melting away. Story 70. I am 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighed 168 pounds. I hated how much gut was sticking out. Once I did intermittent fasting, I got down to 130 pounds. I basically ate anything I wanted from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. outside of those 8 hours. I drank only water. After 3 weeks, I lost about 8 pounds and maintained 130 pounds. I have not exercised, just walked about 6,000 steps daily. I bet if I do any form of exercise, I can lose more weight. Story 71. down from 170 to 132 pounds, 5 feet 9 inches, 77 kilograms to 60 kilograms, 175 centimeters. 5 years still shooting for under 130 pounds, 58 kilograms. My weight loss was slow, 2.5 years to get where I am at. 1 to 2 pounds a month, and it requires mental energy to maintain. Scale in, scale out. Honestly, the biggest thing is portion control, which is calories. I had a day where I went 2,500 calories, but my following day was 900, then the day after 1,000. I enjoyed the fancy food on Saturday and lots of it. On Sunday, I cut my coffee creamer and half of my protein bar. Ironically, Monday I did a bike ride and ate the other half of the bar with no other restrictions. You can eat whatever you want. Your body is like the opposite of a bank account. It will keep all the extra money you put in. Daily expenses lower the balance, but if you keep depositing, it is just going to grow. Work is the biggest fight for me. Avoiding that box of donuts that got brought in, knowing that I will never be happy with it and I will want another anyway. Boosting protein and cutting calories where it does not matter: milk, carbs, soft drinks, and mayonnaise. If I am having carbs, and I do have them, it is going to be spent on something I enjoy eating. These chicken and rice or broth dieting fads people are doing are not sustainable. The same goes for fasting. Waiting 16 hours to eat everything in 8 hours is insane and causes massive blood sugar swings. I meal prep and kind of just make whatever I want, but the portions are calorie controlled. It might be steak fajitas with all the fixings, or barbecue chicken pizza, or a full-fat Cobb salad. The fact is, they all hit the calorie mark. Work people do not seem to understand how I eat like I do and not put on weight as they roll in with a 1,400 calorie order of boneless wings. Story 72. Intermittent fasting works for me since it is easier to eat nothing than to eat a little. I have breakfast, and from then on, my only calories come from the milk in my tea. I have been doing this for almost 4 years, with little weight loss in the past 3. I continue because it is what is required to prevent chaos from returning. I am pretty sure that there are no universal solutions. You have to find what works for you. For those who say there is a universal solution, calories consumed must be less than calories expended. That is true, but it misses the point. Conscious control of calorie intake is the goal we seek, not the path we must follow. Story 73. I got a food scale and started counting calories. Then I started going to the gym 4 times a week for at least 30 minutes and using the sauna for 15 minutes. I did not see any change until 6 months in. Then I lost 30 pounds in a couple of months. Now I am just maintaining it by not overeating and having 2 meals a day while continuing my gym routine. Story 74. I lost 60 pounds in about 14 months by being in a calorie deficit. I did not restrict myself with any foods, but I was conscious about what I ate. I usually eat only between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. In addition to a calorie deficit, I walk 2 miles every morning and aim for around 10,000 steps a day. I also strength train 3 to 4 days a week and try to get around 70 grams of protein a day. Story 75. Approach your diet with resolution. Diet like you mean it. Do not binge. Eat what your body needs, not what your stress wants. Run, bike, walk, swim, whatever gets you off your chair. Activities with others are even better. Lose weight slowly but steadily. Big drops can be bad for you. Lastly, keep at it and do not get discouraged. Story 76. About 3.5 years ago, I lost 110 pounds and have managed to keep it off. Here are a few tricks that helped me lose weight and maintain it. 1. Get friends to be active with you when you're starting. It doesn't always have to be the same friend or group of friends, but it makes it much easier to get out and do something when there's someone else holding you accountable, at least until exercise becomes a habit. 2. This may not be for everyone, but meal prepping helped a lot. I have a tendency to overeat, and meal prepping solved that for me. Read the calorie count labels to see what a proper serving is, weigh portions, and set up meals that way. I did lunch and dinner prep and ate sugar-free Quaker oats for breakfast. It worked great for me. 3. Once exercise is a habit, try to make it enjoyable in some way. If you're competitive, join a competition of some sort such as a 5-kilometer run, 10-kilometer run, bike race, competitive lifting, or CrossFit. If you're not, just find something that you enjoy and can look forward to. 4. Don't do a crash diet. They fail far more often than they succeed. Losing weight takes time and effort. There is no easy way to do it. If it were easy, everyone would do it. 5. Don't give up if you have a bad day or week of eating. Remember, you are human, and humans make mistakes. Please don't punish yourself by eating less one day because you ate too much the day before. 6. If you look up videos or guides online to help, try not to take the word of only one person or blog. Look around a bit and take from each source what works for you. There are plenty of good tips and tricks for exercise and weight loss online. 7. Enjoy the journey. These are just tricks that worked for me. I am by no means an expert, and every person is different. Story 77. I had to quit caffeine, walk 10 kilometers a day 6 times a week, and cut out processed food. It was very intense and hard to recommend, but it is the only thing that worked and works for me, unfortunately. Story 78. 240 to 155. Maintained for years. I follow the starch solution. I haven't weighed or measured, counted calories, or done any of that for years. Watch Calorie Density by Jeff Novick on YouTube, then Fixing Your Environment with Doug Lyle. Listen to an audiobook called The Pleasure Trap. That is how you win the weight loss game. Story 79. My weight fluctuates between 155 pounds and 175 pounds from summer to winter. I do not eat much junk food, walk, swim, and do not drink many soft drinks or alcohol. Story 80. Not me, but a friend went on the ketogenic diet and lost 50 pounds in less than 5 months a few years ago. She has kept it off, is still on it, and honestly, I am super happy for her. The thing is, her whole demeanor changed too. She became erratic, and it has been hard to rationalize with her during many of our conversations where it never was before. Simple things we always discussed before. No, it is not. Menopause. We are all in the same age group, have been there and done that, and one in the group says she is just hungry and angry. Please do not downvote, but I understand both sides. I think she is too. She will not stray from this diet for an inch. Of course, she enjoys her new size too much to let loose for a day and enjoy herself or eat indulgently. We miss her. I do not see any joy in her eyes much. It makes us sad. Story 81. Chronometer helped me lose 15% of my body weight, and I have maintained that percentage for 5 years. Chronometer is a nutrition application where I log all my food intake, including the good, the bad, and the ugly. One bad day can be offset by 3 good days. My strategy is to get the maximum amount of nutrition from the least number of calories. I have never been healthier, and I feel great. Story 82. Clean diet and moderate exercise were my first steps. I didn't go crazy with my diet though. It is easy to fall off the wagon once the cravings kick in. I live by an 80% clean, 20% fun diet. Then just make sure to be active. Story 83. Saxenda and exercise. Reduce portion size to 1/3 of what you used to eat. That is it. Story 84. How I lost weight. A bear ate my leg. How I have kept it off. It has not grown back. Story 85. Being stressed and eating only a small amount once a day because of that did the trick. It is hard, but the weight loss was really fast. Story 86. I do not understand what some people do not understand about weight loss. You eat more than your body burns, you gain weight. You eat less than your body burns, you lose weight. It is literally that simple. Story 87. Remember that weight loss primarily happens in the kitchen. Have some rice with every meal. Story 88. Discipline. Stop blaming things outside your control and stop cheating yourself. You alone have all the power to change your life 180 degrees right now. Story 89. First of all, it took years for me to realize there was no biblical text, no motivational speaker, no divine intervention, or magical pill that was going to do it for me. The only one who was going to help me was me. I had gym anxiety, so I did calisthenics in my living room and started cycling to work. I cycled more in my spare time for additional exercise. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.